That's
It
the
was
deal.
it was the insurance carriers. They hacked your system. They're like, we don't like what they're talking about.
I've been
Kill the
hacked.
feed.
I've been hacked. I'm gonna blame Liberty Mutual. What's up, y'all? Andy McCabe, Joe, and Scott. We're here. This is the Restoration Rebel Roundtable for the 10th of May, 2023. Wednesday, new time. We are going to be here next week at the same time, 5:30 Pacific, Wednesdays. Just get in here. Get in here. Let's have a conversation about it. So we're going to start where we always start, right here. Rebel agreements. Let's rock it. Agreement number 1, I will protect the value of my services. Offering free services only serves to erode the value of similar services industry-wide. Agreement number 2, I will practice incredible transparency. I will explain the claims process to my client. I will not hide pricing details or falsify reports. I will never communicate with an adjuster without also communicating with my client. I've got a little bit of a story on that. Well, that happened today. Agreement number 3, I do not believe in competition. The restoration companies in my market are part of my community. I'll be an active member of my community. It is our unbreakable unity that will create the change that we strive for. And agreement number 4, I am willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that is not compatible with my values and stated mission. No relationship is worth losing money, sleep, or my humanity. Yeah. So, agreement number 2, communicating with the adjusters without also communicating with your client. I brought on a new restorer this week that wants us to do their invoicing, their mitigation invoicing, which we're more than happy to do over at Claims Delegates. And they said, we want you to send that, when you're done with that mitigation invoice, we want you to send it directly to the adjuster. And I said, what about the homeowner? What about the insured? And they said, what about the insured? And so I had to do some education today. And we will not be sending anything directly to the insurance adjuster without also copying the insured. Because when you do that, ladies and gentlemen, you are telegraphing to the adjuster that you are ready to be messed with. You are ready to give something up because you are ready to negotiate on this invoice. So stop it. Bill your client. Bill your client. Bill your client. I don't know how many times I have to say it. If you don't bill your client, that cost is not incurred. The adjuster gets to play with you like a cat playing with a mouse, and it's no fun. No fun for anyone. Joe, tell me you guys invoice your clients. Tell me that.
Yeah, I mean, we do because, I mean, guys, like, your homeowners have questions. They don't understand the process. And when you send an email over, your adjuster says, well, I'm not paying for this or that. 9 times out of 10, you're busy working. Your homeowner is going to be the one that chimes in first, and they're going to be like, well, why aren't you paying for that? Like, why is that not part of my coverage? And adjusters are, on average, a lot more comfortable telling us to kick rocks than they are to tell their homeowners tough. And especially when you've already done a good onboarding. Once you've done a good onboarding and you've explained to them, hey, this is not an estimate up for debate. This is my invoice for the job we've done. And we've talked about why we had to do all this. They're going to come in and say, well, this, they'll stop ahead of the adjuster and say, hey, what do you, well, if you don't pay for it, I have to. Like, this is their invoice. It just makes it so that you're already getting the homeowner on your side to help defend your course of work.
Yeah, just start early and often. Get them, educate them, empower them. They have more leverage than you do, right? Had another conversation this week with somebody who asked me, do I really advocate for the use of liens? And I said, absolutely, I advocate for the use of liens. They're one of the only tools we have left as restorers to maintain leverage in a situation where you otherwise have zero leverage. The insurance adjuster knows they have all the money, they have all the time, they can play with everybody, and we have to use the tools at our disposal. And liens is one of them. AOBs is another one.
I actually got into a really good debate. But I mean, it wasn't like we were arguing and telling each other we're, so and so dumb or whatever. But I was in a roofing group, and I made a comment about, proper onboarding. Let them know, hey, this is my invoice, 30 days of pay. intent to lien will be filed, and I had people being like, well, why would you use that as you're building fear in the homeowner if you got to threaten a lien? And I was like, you're not threatening the lien.
It's not
I've
a
never
threat.
it's part of business. That'd be like telling, that's like going to a restaurant and being told, oh, well, I don't tip. You telling the waiter, I don't tip. If you're at a restaurant where they expect you to tip, you got to tip. And
Come on,
but
don't be that guy.
For our business, the only way we have to guarantee we get paid is through the mechanic lien process, and very rarely does it ever make it that far.
Yes.
But if you don't educate them and you don't inform them that it's coming, then it puts them on the defense, and they're like, they get mad at you for it. It's much better to explain on the front end. It's just part of business. I'm sure you're already aware of this, but be aware, after 30 days, I have to lien on the property. I'm aware that, this certain adjuster I've worked with before takes a little bit longer than 30 days. Don't stress it out. It'll come off once we get paid. But as a business, I have to put this on your property. And most homeowners, when you explain to that way there, they understand it. And then it puts them again on your side to be like, hey, I want this guy paid. Like, I just got the notice of lien, which is kind of like my reminder that it's been 30 days and they haven't been paid yet.
Can I get this guy paid? Yeah. What's that going to take? Yeah. I had a meeting with Abby just asked a question in the group, and she said she can't get on the thing, whatever. So I'm going to answer her question. She just had a insurer tell her that there was endorsement in the homeowner's policy against dealing with AOBs. And I told her it depends on the state, but it's probably bullshit. That does exist, but it's policy to policy, state to state. So get a hold of that policy, make them prove that. And, I would go one step further and say, Abby, you should get a hold of your insured, and your insured should ask the question, where in my policy does it say that I can't assign the benefits of this claim? Just show it to me. And if it exists, then at least it exists. But my guess is I would bet money, not a lot of money. I'd bet $10 that it doesn't exist in this specific policy.
Well, and the sign of benefit is great. It helps you. It helps you let somebody just cut the check to you. You don't have to worry about the homeowner getting it, going to the bank, wait for the other. But more than that, they're like the assignment of insurance. If you can get that, where you take possession of the actual claim,
assignment of claim,
that opens up so much. You actively, for all intents and purposes, you become the policyholder then. And as a contractor, you can say, no, this should be covered because of XYZ, and you don't get hit for being an unlicensed adjuster, nothing, because you are the representative of the claim, and then they have to pay you that as well. You can't
they have to deal with you. They just have to deal with you. All right.
I think
I was hoping Brian would get in here, but I guess he's not. He's working. All right. You're working, Brian. But I do see you. You're muted.
If you don't know about it, I know everybody's aware of, AOB or direct to pay, whatever you want to call it and stuff, where it's just trying to say, put my name on the checks. A lot of adjusters will just ignore it.
That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. Direction of payment is not the same as an AOB.
Okay, you're right. It's not. But a lot of people seem to want to ignore either one of them. But if you get the assignment of insurance and you can take over the claim, it makes so many problems go away, because you can directly speak about what should be covered. I disagree with you. This should be covered, and it shouldn't be part of mold, or it was a drain backup, and all they're trying to say it's a sewer line backup. No, it was soft clogging. You can argue that all day long and not get in trouble. I don't think enough people.
And the AOB is less about the argument portion of it, and it's more about the fact that you can now sue. You can sue. You're a first party. Then you can directly sue that insurance company for any number of things. But absent an AOB, you don't have any standing. You cannot sue. You have to talk your insured into suing if it comes down to that. But the AOB is never. It's just about the eventuality, right? Just like a lien is about the eventuality. I run every one of my files as if it's going to court, but very, very few do. I'd say 5% of the files I touch actually make it to court. Just like 5% of the liens you file, you actually have to perfect on and threaten to take their house. The vast majority of the rest is just about positioning yourself and maintaining that leverage. And it's sometimes a game of chicken. And the insurance adjuster needs to realize, hey, I'm not going to win this game of chicken. I better back off and pay this damn thing. Scotty the body. So what do you, Scott, your background is mitigation, water damage mitigation. Where'd you start doing that?
So I started with Rainbow International in Athens. When I started, I was the only technician they had. So I was thrown to the wolves, just like it seems everybody else is in this industry. Like, here's a van, here's the equipment, there's a loss, go figure it out. But one of the things that I learned quickly was onboarding the client is very important, because you have to have them invested. If they're not invested in their claim, it's their house, right? And they're the one who has to be the front of the argument with the insurance company when it comes to non-payment or something not being approved. If you come in and say, I'll handle everything for you, I'll make your life easy, which that is kind of what we do, but then you're giving them the out, like, oh, my house is fixed. Yeah, you haven't gotten paid yet, but at least my house is fixed. They're good. They have no incentive to try to help you get your money.
Zero.
So keeping them at the forefront, like you said, billing them, having the AOB, the threat of the lien, like there's got to be some leverage that keeps them willing to help you get your money.
Yeah. What we do is not complicated, but it's intentional. We put the pieces on the board in a specific order for a specific reason. And we're very much playing chess. And if you deviate from your SOP, you're going to get burned. Someone's going to come in and take advantage of that. So that's why we have to establish these SOPs. Schedule of fees in your contract, AOB in your contract, notice of right to lien in your contract, and then be able to enforce that lien, be able to really talk the talk when it comes to AOB and in policy language. Get a hold of the policies. I invite everyone here, every claim you do, you should ask for the policy. And I'm going to bet you more than half the time you're going to ask your insured, the claimant, for their policy, and they're not going to have it. They're going to be like, oh, do I need that? Yeah, you kind of need that. I have 2 State Farm claims right now where it took over 3 months to get a hold of the policy. 3 months. And it was just stalling. And it was just a stall technique on behalf of the adjusters. And it's not productive, but we can't make smart claims decisions unless we see that policy document, because you can't just take that blank policy that standard, the one that they send you that says sample on it. That doesn't have all the endorsements that your insured probably paid for. And it really probably doesn't have all the coverage talked about. So,
Well,
anyway,
you have to do that with a grain of salt, though, Andy. Like you're allowed to look and interpret and read a policy and stuff. Most mitigation companies can't technically do that. Now, whether or not you guys do it or not is one thing, but if you're trying to,
there's no rule against reading the policy. So you read the policy, you say, oh, that's an interesting little snippet, and you give it to your insured. Why don't you read that little snippet? What do you think that means? And then once again, back to our theme today, let them fight the fight.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes into what Joseph was talking about the other day with soft clog or sewage backup. I mean, if you look at the policy and see they have a $17,000 sewage backup claim or like limit in their policy, you don't want it to be a sewage backup. Like, soft tissue clog is probably going to be a lot more beneficial to the insured if it can be justified and proven that that's what it was.
The frequency of actual sewer backups is very infrequent. It happens,
right?
But there's no doubt that it happened when it does happen, because you're talking about
Guys,
I've
if you have
seen
a sewer
several.
backup, you're having feet of water
Oh,
coming in the property. You're
feet.
not having just a little inch of water coming up the drain.
It's under pressure. And you know, I had one where it was the end of a cul-de-sac down a hill, and they collected. Congratulations, you got everyone's shit for the entire, I don't know how long it was. Everyone taking a shower, everyone taking a dump, you know, everything was going into this person's house, and there's just no, God, I hate
the
those.
year I lived in Iowa way back years ago, and it was one of the years the Des Moines River flooded, and this house was at the bottom of the hill for the town, and this place had 3 sump pumps in it. It was like a 3,500 square foot basement, unfinished. 5 feet of water came into it from all the storm drains and everything backing up into it. I mean,
that was not all water.
We pumped it. What was worse is we pumped it all out over 6 hours, because obviously you don't want to collapse the foundation by pumping it out too quick. And next night, another 4 feet came back into it and flooded out all of our equipment.
God, what a mess.
But I mean, you know, all of these problems that people have, I mean, it boils down to one simple fact. You have to have good onboarding. And the problem is everybody, I swear, I mean, I think onboarding is the simplest process to do, but a lot of people I talk to act like it's one of the more complicated things. It's simple. If you understand the process and you can explain it in a very well articulated way, you're going to be fine. But a lot of people, they're just uncomfortable talking about stuff because they don't have enough experience, you know, explain how the process works. That's why they're in these groups here and all. And I feel like a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people stress out the onboarding process more than they need to.
Maybe,
You know, explain to your homeowner, hey, you're going to file a claim. Your deductible, more like, you know, I'd like to collect some money from you. You know, if not, you know, that's your choice on as a company. I like to always collect at least a little down payment. You can apply to the deductible if you want or not. You know, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to follow our industrial standard of care. I'm going to provide an invoice to you, and it's going to have justification on there. If you have any questions that's on my estimate or invoice, please let me know. We'll talk about it. Once we're done, you sign off my paperwork, submit it to your adjuster, and you know,
and then I will bill you. I'm going to bill you.
And you know, after 30 days, we will process the mechanics lien on your property per normal business operating practices.
Just
And
let
as
them
soon
know.
as as soon as the adjuster pays the bill, then you know we'll take that off
It's
again.
like,
It doesn't do anything else.
done,
And I mean,
done.
you know, it's a very simple process, but it is. It's, I mean, a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people are scared of the onboarding process because they're afraid they're going to say something wrong or make the homeowner operate under the wrong assumptions.
Maybe. Mr. Peterson, long time no see, man. It was good to see you in Anaheim a month and a half ago, whenever it was.
Yes. Yeah. Good to see you too. It's been a while.
What is your guys' client onboarding process look like?
So, I mean, we're a lot more catering to them, essentially just kind of
a lot more than
what's that?
Than what? As compared to what?
Like, we're not pushing the whole thing of you're going to pay us this money and then get reimbursed by your carrier.
Okay.
You know, we do a pretty decent volume. We onboard the clients of expectations and let them know like the carrier's going to pull these things with you, and we just want to make sure you're going to have our back. And for the most part, we do. There's clients that don't sign with us because they don't want to be in that. But you know, we do the preliminary lien notices, we do all that type of stuff, and we are very much involving the customer in our communication from day one and every single piece of communication that goes through. But I think that it's hard for a homeowner to work with their adjuster and get them to understand some things. And I would rather take communication on and highlight what the carrier is doing, because we're also trying to secure the repair for the right customer too. So
what's your,
I'm curious.
Go ahead.
With some of the companies that are having those communications with, you're going to pay this money and get reimbursed or whatever it's going to be, like, what's the close ratio of that company, and what is the close ratio on those jobs that are $20,000 and up?
Yeah, well, I would say that depends widely upon at what point you have that conversation. right? If you don't have it day one, you just get in there and start ripping and tearing and drying. And then you have a conversation 3 days later when the project manager gets a hold of it. Yeah, then you got them on the hook.
Yeah.
Makes a very different conversation.
Well, and that's the thing is, I mean, at the end of the day, though, I mean, it's not like like I said, it's not a threat. It's not, we're not threatening. You're paying my invoice, and I don't like but the homeowner has to understand that regardless of anything, you're my client, you're the adjuster, you're the adjuster's client. We have a common client, you, but at the end of the day, you are the gatekeeper. You have to pay the bill. You have to be reimbursed. And so, making sure that they understand that at the end of the day, like I understand, I will work my ass off to get the adjuster to pay my bill and justify it if I need to. I have no problem doing that. But at the end of the day, if the adjuster is just being unreasonable, then I have to have you on my side, because you are the one that's going to have to be, you will be the one that goes to court for small claims if my bill's not paid, not the adjuster, not the insurance. It's you, Mr. Homeowner. And so it's, like I said, that's why, and you don't want to word it like that there where, making it feel like it's a threat. You're just trying to explain how the process works so that if an issue does arise, they're already ahead of a few steps ahead, and they're not there, because the adjusters will be like, your contractor's just being unreasonable and he's not willing to work with me on this invoice, and I just can't get him to agree to nothing. And so I know he's telling you it's $10,000, but we're only going to pay $8,000. So you just need to tell him that that's all that we're paying.
Every single contractor I work with is unreasonable. Then every single one. But I think back to Mr. Peterson's point. I just got two Scotts, so I can't just say Scott. I think that frequent, recurrent communication and keeping them as much in the loop as possible. At the end of the day, people aren't dumb, right? At the end of the day, a lot of our clients are way more sophisticated than we are. They're smart, they're capable. They just had something happen that they don't have a skill set for, and we do. So we're in there helping them. But if we communicate adequately and just give them all the information, they can draw their own damn conclusions. They're going to know early on, hey, this guy's trying to screw me, isn't he? And you're like, yeah, I don't know. Screw is a hard term, but they will jump to that conclusion before you don't have to lead them there. So I think you're right, Scott, in that I'm reading between the lines now that from your perspective and your opinion, a lot of the folks that are taking a harder approach are probably being unnecessarily aggressive, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, oh, give me your credit card number. If this isn't paid to me in 20 days, I'm charging your card. I mean, our term of receivables is 36 days. That's not unrealistic or unreasonable at all.
Yeah.
And our approach has just been, hey, you just went through probably one of the most stressful times that you're going to go through, and we don't want to add more stress to it. And I'm also sick and sinister in a way of I like the carrier saying stupid things, and when they say,
let them, yeah,
what's reasonable, okay, then just get a quote from Western Mutual Insurance and tell them that's what you're paying for your insurance now, and then watch how that immediately flips. So again, it's maybe it's onboarding differently. We're saying the same things that everybody else is saying to the customers, and we're interviewing our customer to make sure they're going to be a good fit for us too.
And that's the key right there. If just how everyone here will admit to, they went to a job site and they could tell by the homeowner themselves, they're like, I don't want to do this job because this homeowner is going to be a pain in the ass, or this house is just, it's a nasty house. They're not going to want me to do what they want. I don't want the job. Not every job's the right job. If your onboarding process and these people are getting a bad feel for you, and when you're explaining how the process works and they don't want to do the job, it's probably good for you for them to have you walk away. It might not be a good fit for your company as well, but most people understand how the process works. They've had contractors that they own a house now. They know every time you get a plumber, they tell you, hey, if I'm putting a new water heater in and you're on a payment plan, there's going to be a lien process that's applied to it as well. I mean, it's not like people don't know how lien processes work or what they're involved in, but a lot of companies, I think over the last few years, got into this bad habit of, oh, don't worry, no money down, and we'll do it for whatever the insurance company wants to pay us. And then the adjuster says, well, you charged me $10,000, but I'm only going to pay $5,000. And then they have to go back to the homeowner and say, well, you owe me the other $5,000. And it just catches, the homeowner's like, what? You said you would do it for what my insurance company paid. And So that's why you want to, if you're ahead of it and you're explaining the process completely, it stops that in the tracks where the homeowner goes, what do you mean you're not giving them what they build? Like, they did all this work. I saw the work. They even walked me through it. Here's Matterports and here's their drying logs they even gave to me to show. Like, why aren't you paying them what they said this job cost?
Yeah, when you tell the homeowner every objection that they're going to get from the adjuster on day one, and when those objections come and they're already prepared to handle it, it's a different experience.
Yeah, I call
And it gives you
that
credibility,
fortune
too.
telling. Yeah, 100%. It just builds credibility when you tell them something's going to happen and then it happens. It's magic.
Yeah.
It's magic.
We'll tell them, like, if especially when it comes to repairs, if you're about just doing this as fast as possible, go with the preferred vendor. Like, that's what's going to happen if you want it done the right. And I'm not trying to bag on a preferred vendor, but if you want it done with like texture corner to corner and 2 coats of paint and all that stuff, then we're in it for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for the people that do, like Scott, like you said about recon as well, guys, like I always tell people whenever they ask us, are you full service? Can you do repairs as well? I always say, yes, we absolutely can. But let's have that discussion once the mitigation is done and we make sure that you've been happy with us. Make sure that you're a good fit for our company as well. Yeah. Because a lot of people want to just go in and say, like I said, no money down, we'll work for the insurance and we're full service. And then they get stuck with a homeowner that every one of us would be like, no way that's going to, you can see the writing on the wall.
The crazy doesn't really come out until after the MIT's done. Let's be real.
But we don't even start repairs until MIT's paid in full, and that helps us get paid on. So
yeah. So what percentage, Scott, of your clients? What percentage of potential? Let's say, what percentage do you turn down? Like you do a MIT, but you opt not to do the repairs for. What do you think?
I say that realistically, we probably sign about 60% up for repairs.
Okay.
Going through that process, our repair manager will essentially interview them, see if it's going to be a good fit, see what their timelines are, and yeah, it's probably 60%, and then we might even lose another 10% from there through the process if they want to bail out. But we do, we do agreements that they're going to pay for our admin time and all that, just to weed out the people that are just looking for a big payout
estimate.
at the end.
Yeah, cash out.
That's
so hard. That's so hard. What was that?
It works pretty good.
Well, I was wondering how it's worded. Is it like a percentage, or is it like a percentage of the estimate?
No,
value,
so we had a percentage, and the PA said that's acting like in the capacity of a public adjuster. So we have an hourly fee, and it's easy to just, reach out to a homeowner and say, hey, we're 3 weeks in, we're 8 hours in, this is what it's at. We'll keep going.
T&M.
So most of the people will pay it if they do bail out and they say, yeah, I got this much money and I found somebody cheaper. I mean, we had the conversation up front, like, we're not estimate writers. I'm not here to write you an estimate. We want to do the work, but things may happen along the process. And then you'll still get the people that they sign the agreements and they're still not going to pay you. And then it's a business decision if you just let them go or pursue it.
Yeah. Yeah. We got some catch up to do in the chat here. Okay.
I really
Zach
wish
Davidson,
the chat would connect into the Zoom.
I
so we
know.
can see the
I'm not
chat.
that fancy. I tell you what, if somebody would like to sponsor the Rebel Roundtable, software, equipment, somebody wants to sponsor this, I need about $800 per episode to do this right. That's like the post-production and everything else. And that would get us the chat live in whatever, here somewhere. We're not there. We are not there. Okay, so Zach says, write a good scope document like crazy and build a relationship with your client, and very rarely will you have issues. I agree 100%. I'm going to like that. Okay, Clark says, we aren't in the insurance repair industry. We are remediation and cleaning specialists. I think we're too far back in the conversation to catch up where that is. Playing the insurance game is a race to the bottom. 6 years of Rebels proves it. It's not getting easier or better. Ow, Clark. Clark, do you need a hug? I'm sensing negativity in the thread here. I love you, man. I love you. Don't let them put you down, man. Don't let them get you down. All right. Zach, educate the client during onboard, and you already have a leg up on the adjuster for sure. Abby, we bill the insurance on behalf of customers, but customer knows we will bill them for anything not covered by insurance. We sometimes relate it to health insurance. Most are fine with it. Okay. Yeah,
This is probably one of the
there's,
most active chats we've had in a long time.
yeah, I'm
Good
just
job,
trying to
new
catch
time.
up, make sure we're not missing anything. All right, Clark has an app for me. It's called Restream. All right, I'll look at it. Good. All right, Clark says he's not negative. All right, love you, man. You're not in the room though, so you might be in your 90. You're probably in your 90.
As Abby
Late
said in
where
there,
you are.
yes, they do just, everybody should be giving a price. And even if it's not a perfect price, we're estimating.
Well,
this
California, you have to, right, Mr. Peterson? You have to give a number. What do you do on the MITs? How do you come up with that number? In California law states, in order to have a valid contract, you have to have an amount. How do you get around that?
Yeah, so I know that's definitely a contention, and that is the thing. So our MIT guys, when they originally scope it, they're given a ballpark.
Okay.
One, do you have to go through insurance or not for the first part? It's just to kind of at least put a reality to them of what this is going to be, and find out if this customer is even going to be a good fit. Because if they're just like, that's freaking ridiculous, it's probably not going to be a great fit at the end of the day when
Sure.
it comes time to us getting paid.
So you're in a position day one, hour one of this is going to be $6,000. This is going to be 10 grand. You've got enough. You've got something in place. I'm assuming iPad or whatever else where they can really get that dialed.
Yeah, they got a scope sheet, and sometimes they are way off, and that's where we're getting better. We got to get better. I mean, if an adjuster interferes and puts everything on hold, and now we're stabilizing for 2 weeks or something, or testing
Right.
can't show up or whatever it's going to be.
Game over.
For the
Yeah.
most part, they're pretty accurate, but they got a rate sheet with the equipment, the labor rate. They have an idea of what it's going to cost.
Okay.
And for the most part, they're accurate. But then, yeah, there's times they're like, hey, it's gonna be $8,000, and then it's freaking 30. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we're always trying to educate and get better on.
Out of
I've
your control.
always told everybody, if you're a good mitigation, even if you're educating your techs or your sales guys on things, anybody should be able to go in there and say, I'm thinking this job's going to be probably about $7,500, because we don't know the exact number it's going to be because of unforeseen situations. Things take time to dry. We're going to put on our contract, 7,500 with a buffer zone of about $5,000 is what we're allowed in Indiana for a small claims court. But usually my 75 is my bottom number, and then it's a $5,000 upward. And if in the process, if we realize it's going to change, just like on reconstruction where you get a change order, I have no problem going to my homeowner and saying, hey, because we found the growth, or because we found the water traveled underneath the floor across the slab to the other side of the house, that the original price I gave you is bad here. I just need to sign this change order that says, hey, guy, I understand the price has increased.
You know
the
what I use?
Price will still be on Xactimate, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. And as long as it's in your contract like that. I use a flat rate. It used to be a lot lower. But as years go on. So right now, what I say when someone, a new restorer comes to me, we start writing their invoices. We discuss this early on, because it's important that you're able to quantify these things quickly and easily in an uncomplicated way to your insured. So I always say it's $5,500 for the first room, $2,500 for each additional room, ballpark. So you got 4 rooms, you got 5,500 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25. What's that?
13 grand.
Yeah, for a 4 or 5 room loss, right? How's that jive? I mean, is it for a 4 or 5 day dry? That sounds right in there, right? Especially if there's demolition involved.
I'm gonna ruin you with a custom kitchen. It's gonna throw that number off.
No, this is just MIT,
Yeah,
not repairs. Yeah, but yeah, custom kitchen, you got to be careful. Yeah, no, thank you. You see a lot of that. What part of LA? You're not in LA though, Peter, Scott. You're
we're Orange County and Riverside County, San Diego County.
Okay, so Riverside, you get all kinds. You could be really expensive or really low budget. Okay. All right.
But,
Sorry,
I mean,
Joe,
guys, like-
I
No, you're
interrupted
fine.
you.
But like I said, I mean, guys, like everybody knows what a change order is on reconstruction, but for whatever odd reason, and I think it's just because everyone's always, for the longest time, people were just like, we'll just do it for the Xactimate price. Nobody thinks that of using the change orders, it seems like, on the mitigation scope of estimate. But if you get in that habit of doing
Why
that,
would
it's
you-
gonna
wait a minute,
make your life even
But
easier.
why would you need a change order on a time and material contract?
Because I
It
have to,
takes
if-
Material in California.
Oh, you can't do T&M in California. Okay.
but like I said, if I go in there on day one and have you sign my contract with a number on it, and that number is going to increase, it won't hold up in court if you told him it was going to be $75,000. I go to court, judge, and a judge like, you're asking for 20 grand. This homeowner only thought he only had to pay 7,500. That's why you need the change order that says, I understand the price has increased beyond what the initial scope was. You're allowed to have a buffer zone of about 5 grand, but beyond that there, if it goes beyond that 5 grand and you know about it, you have to have them sign the change order right away, because I mean, it's just like any judge will tell you. If I go to court and it just says pricing based on Xactimate estimate invoice, and that's all you have on there, the judge is going to say, throw it out, because it could have been $100, it could have been $1 million. They have no financial knowledge of what they're signing the paperwork for.
Well,
And
if
even
you
if you-
have, if you're not in a position to give a run rate or burn rate every day, you need to look at your setup. And frankly, I'm not going to call anyone out, but there are people out there that have no idea what a burn rate even means, let alone how to calculate it for their business on any given job. So it's on us. We are the professionals. We need to be in a position to say, here's our burn rate. Hey, we burned 5 grand yesterday. We're probably going to burn 2 grand again today. We're going to burn $1,800 tomorrow. And the day after that, if it's still going, we're going to burn another 4 grand. You need to be able to forecast that, not just for the homeowner, but for the adjuster, frankly. Because what adjuster wants to get hit 5 days in with a $25,000 bill out of nowhere? It's better that they saw that, oh, it's $5,500 on day one. Oh, we had a burn rate of this and that and that, and that's how it got here. Yeah, everyone needs to be involved. I like Peterson's approach to over communicate on those sort of things.
Well, and also, like I said, I mean, I've had homeowners where, you know, they hadn't talked to the adjuster yet because it was the next day the adjuster gets assigned. They talked to the adjuster, yeah, Joe's out here and he said it's going to be about a $7,500 job, no big deal. And then when they get my bill and it's about $8,000, they're not super shocked by it. But you know, if you just randomly throw them a $10,000 invoice out of nowhere, and this is the first time they're really even looking deep into the claim because they've waited for your photos and your dry logs, they're automatically not going to be on the defensive. This is probably going to be really high. You know, it shows integrity when you've said on day one, here's what I think the price is, and you're actually fairly right. You know,
Yeah, 100%.
but
Yeah, our guy's gonna do a daily note, and they'll tag the adjuster on that note. So just click adjuster, click homeowner. And we are in no way, shape, or form a preferred vendor or even in line with that. But God, it makes it hard for them to come back and then try to challenge something when it's like you were notified on day 3 that we were using a heater or whatever. So
Right.
I mean, that's been very
You
helpful.
had this equipment list on day one. What are you using a homebrewed CRM software project management, or are you using something off the shelf? Using Dash? What else? Is that it?
So we're Dash, Mika, Matterport, pretty much.
Okay.
Just-
But you're non-program, but you're stuck with Dash and Mika. Interesting.
I like Dash. So, we were a program vendor about 6 years ago for a short year because we had an adjuster giving us a bunch of work and got in trouble because we weren't a program vendor. So that's how I got
Sure.
to see full scale that side of things.
That's how you get drug in. Yep.
Yeah, so that's how we got introduced to Mika, and then we tried Encircle, and our techs preferred Mika because it was a comfort thing, easy use. And now Dash owns Mika, and they got the integration in their software there. They got the integration with Matterport, so it's just whatever's making it easier for the field guys.
So you're doing Matterport on almost every job?
Yeah, almost every. If it's a small water loss, no. But mid to large, yep. Before and after mid.
I've got my
using
guys now using their iPhones on day one, so it's just a rough Matterport, but I mean, it's not
Wait,
crystal
you're
clear,
making them,
but
did you at least give them the Axis tripod?
they have a tripod if they want to use it. I like it because it kind of stabilizes the jitters so much, but I'm not using their Matterport for measurements. I'm using their Matterport to see what it looked like when they walked in there. And then
Mm.
usually I'll do I'll have a Matterport at the end, they do it at start of day one, they do it at the end of day one with all the equipment there. And if they don't have to do any more demo throughout the job, they're good. If they have to do additional demo later on, they Matterport it again. But then I
Mm.
usually, because we do recon, I go in there with my Pro 2, high def camera, and then I'll Matterport that afterwards. And that's where I'll pull my measurements from. So I have good documentation of where we started at and where it's gone through at.
All right. I could critique you what I would prefer, but I'm not going to do it right now. I think there's a small change in your SOP that would help. But let's talk about that tomorrow offline.
Mr. Clark has joined us.
Clark here enough.
Mr. Clark, where is Mr. Clark? Mr. Brown, where are you? It says you were in here somewhere.
I
but
will
only
say
see
though, if
four
you're
faces.
having your techs use their phones, take it off the full scan and just do the 360 scans of it. It makes it a lot quicker because they don't have to do two passes. They can just do the one pass. It makes it so it's a lot easier for them not to screw it up as bad.
Yeah, and I mean, I bought the Axis because up until the point I bought the Axis, I was borrowing a homeowner's broom every time I did it, because it's that hard to get it aligned using the iPhone, and the Axis makes it real nice. And sometimes the Axis with the iPhone is better quality than a 360 camera.
I'll give you that. It's better than 360, not better than the Pro 2, but
No,
the
not better than
360
Pro
cameras.
2. It's hard to beat
But-
6 lenses. I mean, that's a lot of light. 6
But,
lenses
I mean,
and 3
everybody
lasers.
but it is, like I said, the digital documentation stuff. I mean, it's the wave of the future. If you're not doing it yet, you need to get on it now before you're left in the dust. Because eventually it's going to become just like having meters and hygrometers. It's pretty much going to be expected because technology is advancing so quickly. It's on all our phones. Like,
Yeah.
it might as well get going now. And
I want to give a huge welcome to an OG rebel, Mr. Clark Brown. He doesn't have his video on, but I know you're listening, Clark. What up, brother? Where the hell have I been all your life?
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
I barely. Sounds like you're
he's
underwater.
sitting in the hot tub drinking a beer.
Sitting
trying to
in the
talk on
hot
the
tub. is what
phone.
he's doing.
I'm not in a hot tub. How's that? Guys, I don't know how to. I'm trying to check my settings.
Take your respirator off, Clark.
Yeah, take the respirator off. Put your headset in. Yeah. It's been a while. It was good seeing Clark at the RIA in Orlando. Hell, it was good seeing Joe and Scott. Mr. Peterson didn't make the trek across the country, but I liked that. It was a good show. It felt like a good show.
And guys, if you haven't ever attended the RA, it was my first time going, and I'm dead serious. Like everybody, just like how in these groups here, we're friendly and we talk to each other. That's how you're treated there. I've been to like some roofing or conferences before where it's like sharks in the water. You got to be careful who you talk to. People are agitated all the time. RA was super relaxed, super laid back. It was a great time. I learned a lot. I got to meet a lot of people, and I mean, the food was good. The free bar was awesome. The music was good. I mean, it's a great time. If you ever have a chance that you can free your schedule up and go to it, absolutely, you guys should try to go to it because it's well worth it.
Yeah, and next year's in Dallas. Who has the date? Anyone know the date?
I have it somewhere.
And is the technical conference this fall in Florida again?
The experience there's the one down in Fort Lauderdale this week, and then there's the experience also in Vegas in September, October.
No, RIA has a technical, usually in the fall time, they have a technical conference covering something. Let me go there. Restorationindustry.org.
And plus, guys, you get really cool stuff, like really nice hats to wear at work and all when you go down, when you go to these conferences.
ATI for the win. Yeah, Clark. No, but you can just yell at us.
I'm yelling.
We, we can hear you good enough. Probably not as loud as I am. But
Good enough.
I don't know why. I've been looking for these settings. I've been following the call. I would love to, like, I don't know that it fits everybody's workflow, but I just want everyone to know that, because there's a theory about no one ever thought they could run a 4-minute mile till the first person did it, and then
Yep.
everybody did it. So once we kind of quit thinking about the ways we can't do things, it opens up that we can do a lot of things. So I had a company that we had 43 or somewhere between 38 and 43, depending on how busy you were, technicians. They did the estimating. We did not have a license to Xactimate. They priced the job up front, got a contract signed, did the work, manifested change orders when the scope would have changed because of beyond their initial assessment, get that signed, and then they collected the job. And the onboarding was practiced every single week. It really is possible, but you got to start with the result and the goal in mind. Like, what do we want to happen? And we're going to do everything to build towards that.
So they would role play. They would actually role play that onboarding conversation.
Absolutely. So we had 2 meetings a week. One was technical, and one was what we call soft skills, understanding customers, communications, et cetera, et cetera. Disc assessment, the whole bit.
Wait, disc assessment. That's for the employee. That's not for the client.
No, but once employees all understand how to understand and read people and what the common key characteristics are of themselves and others, they start to understand how to talk to people that have those similar traits. Does that make sense?
What percentage of our peers, let's say, are willing to put that kind of work into their employees?
Well, a very low percent, Andy.
I see you, Peterson.
A very low percent of people, but they don't have a problem coming on here and spending hours and hours complaining about what's not working. So I would just say, and I'm not mad or negative. I'm just being real. That people just it's there for the taking, but you got to get out there and do it. I know it's not easy, but nothing climbing the mountain isn't easy, but getting to the top is really cool.
And I will say, I'll agree with that. Like, I mean, I worked for so many different companies. They will harp all day long about how to dry it out and how to demo and all that stuff. But very few companies I've ever worked for will take the time to make sure that that you're communicating correctly. You know, because at the end of the day, guys, your water techs, especially on the mitigation side, your water techs are your face of the company. A product manager might be in charge of meet up out there, but then they leave and your water techs are left behind. So your water techs need to be able to communicate correctly, efficiently, and articulately, you know, and make sure that you're keeping that relationship that your product manager started up or your sales guy started up, that you're fostering that in a good fashion. And if you're not investing in them on that skill set, you're not going to succeed very well.
Your water damage technician, your frontline emergency responder, is the #1 employee in your organization. They have the highest amount of touch points with the client. They have the highest amount of influence on how that client feels at the end of the job. Every dollar you spend educating and training and empowering your water damage technicians is going to pay itself back 100-fold. I guarantee it.
Hey, and in our ecosystem, everybody in the company, everybody's job was to serve the technician. We were coaches and we were on the sidelines. How can we make them successful? Answer the phones, get their equipment forward, whatever. There were people in place to make sure that they did the most important work, like you're saying. What we called it was the highest and the lowest consequences. If we don't do it right, the consequences are very high. If we do it great, the consequences shrink. So you have to come up with our managers made less than our technicians, but they just didn't want to get out and do the work anymore. So our managers were coaches. Their job was not to take.
That is rare. That is rare.
I've worked for a number of companies where the water techs make more than the mitigation, maybe not the general manager, obviously, or the rest of the mitigation department manager, but the project managers and the project estimators and all, like the techs made more because they are the ones that need to be invested in. You know, you make a little bit less, but you also don't have as much EMS. You're not on call all the time. You're not working all the late hours like they are. So, you know, investing in your techs is like the number one thing you could do to make your business profitable, because I guarantee you, everybody that looks at every time they've lost a reconstruction job, I would say 90% of the time it's probably because the water techs put a bad taste in that homeowner's mouth for something they said, did, left the good place a mess. And also, if you're teaching them, if you're making them successful, they will make you successful.
Well, here's a way to think about it. If any of you have ever had any exposure to how plumbing companies run, plumbers make tons of money. The dispatcher and everybody else is there to support them with training, with, you know, running coverage on issues, and even the managers will bring them new parts when they're out there on the job. Leaving the job is not what they need to do. They respect the customer's time, and they charge a premium for that service, and the customer's happy to pay for it because they're getting premium service. It really is. We have to get out of the mindset that we are asking permission for what the insurance does. Instead, we do a service that everybody else wish they could do, and that's, I mean, that's just the mindset.
That's what it is.
It really is.
Yeah, the plumbers don't ask permission.
No, they don't take calls from insurance companies either. No, if an
No, they
email
do not.
comes across, if a plumber gets an email from Code Blue, it goes right in the trash.
And Abby, like you were, you know, Abby made a comment here, you can spend time training employees to be successful and they might not stay, but what if you train them? If you didn't train them, they do stay. Either way, I mean, I don't mean any offense, Abby, when I say this to you. I do not like hearing people use that argument. Well, you know, they might not stay. Like, regardless if they stay or not, what the time they're there, you need to make sure that they are the best employees. You're making them the best employees they can be for the time they're with you. Everybody will change. I mean, it's hard to keep nowadays people for long periods of time. They get burnt out, you know, they get tired and all that. But while you have them, you have to make the best out of what you have. And I mean, there are some people, I've got a friend who's literally, they've got a water tech that's been working for them for almost 20 years. He refuses to be a lead water tech because he doesn't want to be responsible for other people. He just wants to do what he's told.
He's making a living.
I mean, some people are going to be like that, but you know, if you're showing, you know, that you're going to invest in their future by training them, by, you know, compensating them correctly. I mean, Mark, I know you know that. Like, I'm a big fan of commission. Like, I like having my employees be commission based because their work directly affects their pay, you know. And if I tell somebody, a 40-hour week guy, hey, I need you to start checking your accounts and make sure you're dropping that extra air mover. It doesn't, what do they care? They're not, there's no benefit for them.
Doesn't affect his bottom line.
You know,
They're not bought in.
Hey, Joseph.
Yeah, he's not bought in.
Joseph.
Yeah.
You know how you make a team more efficient? Stop paying them by the hour, start paying them commission, and you're going to be amazed about, my God, why didn't y'all do that kind of work when y'all were on hourly? Well, because you paid us by the hour.
You know,
we watch it over and over and over every single time. They start thinking about, if I do this job and I put 20 hours in and I can invoice it correctly, authentically for 8, they start doing the math. They're like, I made $95 an hour. That's good money. Boom. That's it.
And it's a pain in the ass on the admin side, guys. Like, I will tell you guys all day long, because
when
I worked at when I worked at Roto-Rooter, like, we'd pay them up, and then once we got paid by the insurance, if we did settle for less amount, we'd have to deduct from their next paycheck. So there's back and forth. You got checks and balances. But if their pay is directly connected with that invoice getting paid, do you think a water tech's going to forget to take a picture? Do you think they're going to forget to document that they wore their PPE or they double bagged? No, because they know, if I charge for you told me you did a double bag, but I can't prove it and I can't get it paid, you're going to lose money later on down the road. Like, it puts the skin in the game, like Abby said here. And it is, how many times I'm burnt out, it's another after hours PPE job. Well, we're charging after hours rates. Your commission's going to go up. Like, when I worked commission, guys, I didn't have to worry about on-call. My guys fought over who got the on-call and the after-hours job. It was everybody bitched and moaned about who had to come in at 8 or 9 o'clock the next day and work. They didn't want to do that normal stuff. They wanted to be on the on-call work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how much better it gets.
So we got a late joiner about 6 minutes before the end of the clock. Mr. Chuck
Is it over?
Doucette.
You know that on the calendar you posted it that it ran till 10 o'clock tonight, right?
No, I did not.
You said 8:30 to 10.
Oh, that's not gonna work for me. But Chuck, Mr. Chuck, man, it's been a long time since we had a conversation. You wanna say a few words on the subject, or have we beat this horse to death? Let's see if we can get him to unmute his microphone here, or maybe he's at a club. It's like, can't talk. Yeah, maybe not. All right, Chuck, I gave you the option. All right. So
Abby, Zach, you guys have
Touch
been.
on
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Scott.
what we're dancing
Yes.
around the concept here is these guys are sales guys. As much as we don't want to admit it, they're sales guys. They're the face of the company. They're the person that the insured has the most interaction with, and training them soft skills, training them people skills is going to be more beneficial, honestly. And I'm probably going to take a lot of flack for saying this, but then training them the science of drying. They'll be more successful if they are stronger on the sales side than they are on the science side. They can pick up the science side
100%. 100%.
It is easier to
agree.
train a water
I
guy
agree.
to sell than it is to teach a sales guy how
dry?
restoration water damages work. Like when I worked at Roto-Rooter here in Indianapolis, when we started, they wanted nothing but to sell like the car salesmen and all the people that knew how to sell. That's what they wanted to hire to sell water. And these guys would fail tremendously because they didn't understand how a claim worked. They didn't understand the process and explaining it right. As soon as we started taking our leads and saying, hey, let's move you into sales. I mean, our Indianapolis Roto-Rooter was doing $80,000 a week, $4 million a year in water damages. We had 4 sales guys, and each one was expected to sell $20,000 a week. Like, you know, it's crazy what you could.
I don't think we should put the onus for the sale or the conversion of that lead on the water damage technician. I think that lead should be 90% pre-sold before the tech gets there. And yeah, it's their job to get the signature on the bottom line. But if you are sending water damage technicians out to maybes all the time, there is very few quicker ways to burn people out. You want to qualify that lead. You want it to be a done deal for the most part before that technician drives all the way out to that house to get a no. Most water damage technicians that I know are only going to take so many no's before they're like, screw this, I'm going to find a different place to work. So it's on us to qualify those leads in a meaningful way. And yeah, they're the salesmen, but really they're the customer support, their customer relationship, because they're out there, they have a service we know the insured needs. All they got to do is show up and not have, their pants around their knees and a dirty shirt on and with a chew in their mouth. They need to get the signature and then do a good job. But to call them salesmen, I think is a stretch.
I hear what you're saying, but I also see around here, the technician is the guy that's first on scene. On these small companies, they don't usually have like a mitigation project manager going out, qualifying, explaining, doing all of that. Most often, these companies are relying on the technician to have that conversation, to manage expectations. And it's a lot to put on a technician, but the technician can be successful with a little bit of training and help.
Yeah, a lot of the smaller companies, the water tech, the estimator, and the project manager are the same exact person. But like I said, if my water tech, when I ran my department, even though I was just the project manager and estimator, I showed up first. Hey guys, head to the shop. I'm going to the job site. I'll get the sketch and the paperwork done. Call me when you're at the shop, and I'll let you know how much equipment actually to bring. And that way, if they did get called in, they just go to the shop and then go home. They get paid a minimum call-in fee. But as soon as I left, those are the guys that are continuing that relationship on. And You know, if they're in there talking to each other and complaining about me or complaining about the upper management and how they don't care about us stuff, homeowners hear that a lot more than people sometimes want to give them credit for it, because a lot of homeowners have nothing
they
better
do.
to do than just sit there and go, what's going on beyond that plastic there? I want to hear. And you know, if they're not happy, if they're screwing around, the homeowner's gonna know that. I mean, homeowners are way more perceptive than a lot of people want to admit.
They really are. So if we're going to go for another half hour, I'm going to have to get a refill. Are we committed? Are we committed to this point? Are we going to
I mean,
call
I'm fine
it?
with it. It don't bother
Scott,
me.
you can drop off anytime you want. Yeah. I mean, I'm halfway committed, but I'm committed enough. I got an empty cup. So I'm going to go. You guys need to carry the conversation here for a bit. Let's see if we can get Chuck. Let's go, Chuck. Get Chuck in
Abby
here
and
saying
Zach,
something.
I'm going to challenge you both because you guys have commented a lot. Next week, I'd like to see you guys to actually put at least a voice in here and have some communication. Like that's the whole point of us moving into the later shift, is to actually get some actual involvement. And I appreciate you guys are chatting. Like, don't get me wrong there, but like I'd like to see you guys actually join in on the group as well and talk.
Well, Abby tried. She said she couldn't log in.
We'll have to get that fixed. But yeah, I mean, guys, like, you know, every step of the process every step is important. There's no one step that's more important than the other. But you know, like the old saying, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And if you're not getting the right people to do the things in the right way, it's really hard to be successful. I mean, even just doing something as simple as taking the right amount of photographs. Scott, how often do you have to complain that your text didn't take enough photographs before Matterport?
Yeah, we still deal with that.
You know, but if their
It's a thing.
pay
It's
is
very real.
directly connected on making that valid verification that, hey, we did double bag. Here's a picture of one bag inside of another bag. You know, that will, I mean, they used to, if it was $20, no one cared. As soon as I hit $50 or more with a takeoff on their paycheck, they were in my office saying, Joe, why the hell didn't we get paid? Why couldn't you justify this? Because it's either your fault because you weren't defending us correctly and you caved, or we screwed up. And guess what? Very rarely would it be a screw up on their part after, you know, a couple of weeks of it, because they knew immediately, like, that's not won't happen again. And I know it's hard for a lot of companies that do full service, you know, fire, water, mold, contents, people are bouncing all around. But if you have the ability to set it up for your water checks to be commissioned, oh my God, it'll make your life so much easier.
One of the best
I begged
things
for that.
Yeah, one of the best things, it just works out for everyone. But here's the crux of it is, management has to give up control. And management has to give up a little piece of the pie. That's the biggest part with the experience I've had with the owners that I've dealt with, right? No one in this
They're giving it
group.
up in breakages, loss. Like they're already giving it up now.
Right. They don't
You get
understand
your
that.
people to care more. Yeah, if you get people to care more and they're incentivized and they're bought in, part of, you know, I wouldn't say ownership, but they take ownership because they care, they're going to do a better job. And all around, everything's going to get better.
Equity is ownership. The best thing that I worked for a service master here for a hot minute in Bend, Oregon. And right before the end of my time there, they went, I think it's piecework. They said they just had it out. There was a base plus. It was a base plus, and they had a budget for that job. And if they beat that budget, they got a piece. They got a piece of whatever that delta was. But they were responsible for that entire job, soup to nuts. And if they brought in somebody to help them with demo or whatnot, that went against their costs. So they were very conscious. There was a lot of guys that, you know, ordinarily I was 100% against sending any less than 2 people, because I like having backup on every single job. But there were some guys that said, nope, I got it. And they were solo. They were running solo because they knew that if they could shave those costs, it was going right to their pocket. So, Scott, what do you guys, what's your incentive program for your techs?
Yeah, so this is a topic I'm definitely interested in hearing more on. So like we pay, I mean, our guys are 24 to 32 bucks an hour plus bonus for after hours, and then we have a bonus if we hit our sales goal for the month too. I was interested in commission, but you know, Southern California, you hit that traffic, you might have a guy sitting in traffic for 2 hours. We got we got an hour to an hour and a half service area. So, trying to be fair to the guys that they're not going to be just not making any money sitting in traffic or going a little bit further. And
But
we have a
that-
lot of helpers. Like we're big on the training, trying to
Mhm.
promote the helpers to be leads. So, we may have 3 helpers jump on a job with a lead tech to help with demo, but mainly just
Sure.
to learn, to hear the conversations. So I'm open to it. We're in the middle of restructuring everything right now. We had a
Okay.
MIT manager / estimator. We're splitting that. We're gonna have a MIT manager and then.
if you're having problems because of the hour stuff, I'm assuming you're an Xactimate guy, right?
Was that?
You guys are using Xactimate, right?
Yeah.
Are you guys effectively changing your support and events because of these traffics issues?
Yeah, we have all custom pricing.
Well, custom pricing, yeah, but are you changing your support and event percentages to account for the extra downtime of the drives and the traffic?
Well, yeah, especially with monitoring, we will bill it, what it really is. Like we'll track what the drive time is and account for that. And
Well,
if
like-
it's
But
gonna
there's
be on
they're
after
still not
hours or
making
something.
they're still not
But-
making the money they want to be making sitting in traffic.
That's true, but I mean,
What was
Go
the
ahead.
genesis behind? It sounds like you're making some significant changes. What was the onus behind that? What was the pain point that caused you guys to look at that again?
Quality control going down.
Mm.
So like, we had a pretty significant jump from last year to this year. So
As far as
The
revenue or
manager-
problems?
on revenue, well,
Oh,
I mean,
both. Okay.
problem solved. If you give
One
a,
comes with the other.
problems.
Yes.
exactly. So our MIT manager was just, I don't have time to, write the invoices and manage these guys and get them out. So, we had pretty much mass hiring of bringing on 2 more leads and 3 more helpers. And then the leads were running around, going to 50 to 70 jobs a month. They're going around trying to sign these jobs. And I'd like to get the MIT manager. So our closing ratio went down. The quality on the job went down. The right pictures went down of like getting guys in PPE.
And profitability took a shit. Yeah.
Our profitability is still, I mean, we're typically right in the 70 to 80% gross profit.
Okay. Okay.
But still, like it's a ticking time bomb. So
Yeah.
we're gonna free up the MIT manager to actually be the MIT manager to go train and help with sales. We're gonna promote one of our top sales guys into that first responder role, kind of what was talked about, to actually go sign the job and get that qualified, sign it, and then get a tech dispatched, and then we'll have a full-time estimator to write the invoices and kind of deal with the adjuster responses and all that. type of
What
stuff.
vehicle are you going to put that guy in? Because I got a feeling I want
And I got
one.
a follow-up question
The
too.
first responder, or
Yes. Yes.
probably in like a Transit Connect.
Oh no!
Is he gonna
Don't do
have
that.
like a DHU and an air scrubber?
Yeah, I just
Put
have
him,
some
put him in
initial,
something
like,
beefy.
stabilization
Put him in
equipment.
something with a V8.
he's in California. They're not allowed to have big beefy vehicles.
Yeah, we have almost all Transits. I got a ProMaster and Nissan MV, but we're primarily buying Transits now. Great.
All
I mean,
right.
great
all
choice.
right.
I second Scott on the Transit Connect.
Yeah.
There's Chuck.
I just feel, I don't feel like I like driving my truck. I like driving my truck. And if I'm be driving, this guy's going to spend his entire day in the car. Is that a
Mhm.
comfortable car for that?
Yeah.
All right.
Dude, my GM's probably 300 pounds and he loves his Transit Connect.
Okay.
And
That's a big boy.
your equipment's covered, and
Yeah, he's big boy, big happy boy.
Yeah, I mean,
Love it.
with the commission, I mean, it can be helpful, and if it's something you're looking into doing, like I suggest, I mean, give it a shot. I mean, even at one of my past companies, we did it where we talked to a couple of leads and said, hey, we would like to try this with you first. We'll guarantee you, X amount and all, but let's try the commission, and then after 90 days, if you like it, we'll keep you on. If you don't like it, we'll take you back.
It's got to
And,
be it's got to be a commission plus. You got to have a base. Because that's, let's be honest, not everyone that works for us is the type of person to go start a business. Why they don't want to start a business? Because of the risk involved. there's risk involved in being entrepreneurial. So going 100% commission is very entrepreneurial and very risky. It's at least
For
perception.
water techs, for water techs, it's terrifying.
It's terrifying. So that you got to take some of that risk out for them. Give them a base. Give them something
Well,
that they're like, okay, if I shit the bed, at least I'm making this, and
Well,
then
that's-
coach them
in
to coach them up.
Indiana here, it was, so for, when I was at Roto-Rooter here in Indianapolis, the leads made 7% of the job, the helper made 4% until he got his WTR ASD, then he made 5%. If they had to have extra people on there, then they would have to figure out between that total 12% commission, how much the third person would get on there. Very rarely did they ever want a third person, but they were guaranteed at least minimum wage for the weeks to cover their health insurance and stuff like that. But they, I mean, and you would have guys that literally, as soon as they hit $800, I'm done. I'm done for the week. I don't need to work anymore. And then you'd have guys literally where they would be like, give me more. Or, we had a rule where if it was over a $20,000 mitigation, you had to have a second crew out there because otherwise they'd spend the whole week on one job. And when we made that rule, they got mad. They're like, I don't know, like we'll move faster then because, they had no problem staying late and working until they didn't want to come back the next day and finish it. They would do everything in their power to get that homeowner to let them stay.
Because they're about efficiency. They're about efficiency. So Abby's my girl. Abby's driving F250. That's my girl right there. So the way we had it at Service Master, it was they didn't get a commission on the job. They just kept a portion of the profitability of that job, which is different than a commission in my mind. So it wasn't a set it was a set percentage, and I think it was 25%. They got a base, right? But they got 25% of the gross. So 25. So if they're bringing the job in at 75 points, they got 25% of 25% of that job.
Yeah,
And
we're about to be experimenting with something very similar to that. I don't know the percentages, but the lead will be like on a 65K salary, which he'll pull a draw off of every week, and then but in reality, he's pulling a draw off of a commission-based structure. So there's a different commission rate for water versus, cleaning or mold, different types of jobs. And it's all built in and he's presented with all that at the beginning of the job. He sees it, he signs it, he knows what it is. If he has a helper, if he has two helpers, all of that comes out of that top number. So he's guaranteed to always make his base, but he can always make more if he beats that number. So literally like dumpsters. I've seen it in play at a sister company that we're very close with. And you have guys that are they'll get in there and they're smashing the trash because they know that another dumpster is like $500. But I know we can get the rest of this trash in this dumpster.
We can fit
this
it.
Is coming out of my cut. This is close. We're close.
He's stuffing insulation in his pants.
And that's
absolutely.
That's what Roto-Rooter
he's got
did.
nails in his pocket. They got screws in their shoes.
That's
whatever
what
you got to
Roto-Rooter
do.
did. They would, any outside labor, if they wanted to, they would always bring the trash back because if they got a dumpster and the dumpster was $300, then we would take $600 off of the bottom of the estimate.
They're putting that shit in the truck.
Yep, absolutely.
Just for the record, Andy, I just want to say I can't see you wearing yellow. I just don't think yellow would look good on you. So I can't believe you were actually working for them.
I worked for Service Master twice.
At least go red with Belfour. At least that's a good color, a strong color.
Ish.
And Andy, I just want to clarify that I've actually never driven a Transit Connect in my life, but they are kind of cool. And I have ridden in the passenger seat when I've been driven back and forth to the airport by my GM.
That's fair.
I drive an F350. That's what I drive. Single rear wheel, F350.
My man.
It's simple. It's not a platinum or nothing, but it's simple and it's clean, But most of our people drive either F250s, diesels, F150s, or T250 Transit medium roof cargo vans. That's pretty much our entire fleet is T250 medium roof cargo vans. F-250 diesels, and F-150 crew cabs. That's
Okay.
pretty much our entire fleet. And and
Yeah.
a couple of Honda Accord for sales guys. Two
Honda
of those,
Accord.
and
Interesting.
oh
Okay.
man, oh my God, that's for sales.
What do you get?
Man,
Like
I'll send you
30
picture
miles
of
a
this
gallon?
thing. 34, 36.
Get out.
The Ford Mavericks,
Unbelievable.
man. Ford Mavericks are 45 miles to the gallon. I've got
Yeah,
2 of them. I
yeah.
love them.
45
Yeah, I heard
miles
about the
per gallon.
Mavericks too
To
late.
get in a car,
Yeah.
I cannot drive a car. I tried to drive a car the other day and I thought I was going to die getting out of it. I have to be in
Yeah.
a truck.
Those
Well, you
Ford
guys-
Mavericks are 25 grand.
That's it's free. It's free. Now they don't weigh 5,000 pounds, so you don't get a tax credit for them, right?
You get it's a hybrid, so you get a credit for the hybrid.
Oh, okay. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I found out about the Mavericks just like 2 months ago. I didn't even know anything about this. I talked to Coral Martin. She educated me on the Mavericks, but I was like a year into the other vehicle. So I was like, well, that sounds great. But
That's what my
we just unfold ourselves out of the Honda Accord. We just kind of open the door, we just kind of roll out, then just stand up out of the parking lot. So it's fine, man. Everybody's good.
My first company, Dow Columbia, back in the year 2000, put me in a GMC. What was not a Sierra? It was the little baby GMC.
Colorado.
Canyon.
The Canyon.
No, they didn't have the
Yeah.
Canyon back in the year 2000. Oh, I can't remember it now.
Oh, that was a hold up.
It was the
That was a
S10.
S10.
It was
like
it was the
S10.
S10, but it was a GMC version.
Yeah, but
Sonoma.
it's GMC. So yeah,
Sonoma.
Sonoma. Would it be a Sonoma? Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Mhm.
GMC
Yeah, because the S10
Sonoma.
was a Chevy. Yeah.
2-wheel drive, 5.5 foot bed. And I'm 6'6", 2 Hondy. Well, at the time I was probably 230. And I'm a little bit north of that.
Staring with
Yeah.
your knees.
Yeah, that's pretty much. And we had some ice storms. When I first started, we had some ice storms hit Portland, Oregon. That thing was worthless. I mean, it's just, yeah, from that point on, I was like, if I don't get a 4-wheel drive, I'm not working for you. But then I bought myself one. So. But California, you don't need a 4-wheel drive. I get that. So transit. All right. Color me.
Well, with how compact the
Informed.
DUs and air movers go, probably you're not seeing people on motorcycles just having it on the back going between the cars. Like it. I always laughed when I worked in LA there. So I was like, one day I'm going to see somebody with a DHU and like 4 Velo fans on the back of a crotch rocket zipping down between the highway or on the highway between the cars, getting to a job. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Sidecar.
Yeah. Zach says, Joe, you weren't built for a car.
No, my fat ass literally has to fall into cars. And then like an old man, I have to be pulled out of it because no. That little truck that you rented down there at RIA, Andy, like even that thing, I was like, oh God, this is kind of hard getting in and out of.
No, I had that thing. Yeah, that was, yeah, Tacoma. Yeah, Japanese don't understand how large humans get in the United States. Yeah, the Toyota Tacoma was not built for men our size. That's for sure. Okay, I think we hit a lull. Unless someone has something huge and momentous, I think we're going to just call it. I really enjoyed this conversation, though. This was fun. I'm hoping more people show up next week. Scott, it was awesome to see you. Long time. And you, Mr. Rear, awesome to see you as well. I love you. You got nothing but love. Clark Brown was in the comments. He came in. It was good. Zach, get in here next week. All right. Get in here and let's actually talk. And Abby, figure out your computer. Let's get that going. Until then, hey, be good. And if you need something, you got a question, this is a group. This is a group to ask it in. Get a hold of us. Get a hold of any one of us, and we'll help you. We'll try to help you at least. How about that? So until then, be good, guys. Have a great week.
See you guys.
Take care.
Y'all have a good one, fellas.